Hello, lovelies. Um, this is Shaley and Abby, and we're back. We just wanted to talk a little bit about our previous video. We talked about how we knew that we weren't fine, and now we were going to talk a little bit about how we got help. Abby, did you want to share how did you go about getting help?
So my sister is a mental health professional, and she lives less than a mile from me, and so that is, I sort of had a leg up in that area. So I was actually having, like, me and my husband went away for a couple of days. We were in a hotel room in Asheville, and I still was having anxiety. I had no papers due. I was literally not in charge of anything. Like, we were having a great time, and I was so anxious. And I called my school's counseling center from the hotel room. I was like, I need an appointment, and I need an appointment now. And it was spring break, and so no one else was there. So they were like, yep, no problem. So I went in, and then she was like, yeah, it sounds like you are depressed, and it sounds like you've been having depressive episodes, like cycling into them for a long time. And she was like, so I can get you into counseling in like 4 weeks. I was like, I just started sobbing. I was like, I can't do that. It's not a choice. I need something right now. She was like, well, you can go see the psychiatrist and she can put you on medication. And I was like, yes. So, and because everyone's on spring break, right? I got really lucky. And they put me in, and she gave me a prescription, and within like 24 hours, I was taking the meds. And so one of the things that people don't tell you about serotonin, right? Because that's what's wrong with me, is that there isn't enough serotonin in my body. My body doesn't make enough serotonin. Just like diabetics, they don't make enough insulin. And so most, like 90% of your serotonin receptors are in your stomach. And so it made me like really nauseous for like 2 weeks. But the crazy thing was, I was like, I'm nauseous, and it'll get better. But even if it doesn't, let's do this. Because I could tell within about 48 hours that they had found the right meds. Now, I'm really lucky because the first medication was it for me. And it's really, really lucky. But I had been medicated in high school, and the meds were so bad that I hadn't tried again for like 13 or 14 years.
Right. I think that happens a lot, because I think that you have a bad experience with one and then you don't want to take others. And really, I almost felt like a guinea pig or like a animal trial, because you had to try something, right? Yeah.
And you have to try it for like a month. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like, here, take 2 days worth, and then if it doesn't work, because the way that most mental health medications work is that it builds up in your system. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't just, it's not like Advil. Like, it's not, I wish it was, but it's not. But also, like, I know. I'm like, what? Someone needs to get on that.
Yeah, come on.
Right. So it builds up in your system. But on the plus side of the way that the meds work is that, like, for me, if I forget one day, then it's okay, because it has built up in my system.
Yes. And I know that with mine, if I forget and then I take it later, I can feel it a little bit. But if I forget totally now, it doesn't make a huge difference. If I forget more than 2 days in a row,
Right.
Yeah. I was thinking about when you were talking about being nauseous, every year, because when I get the anxiety, I get nauseous too. And I call it my spidey senses, because if I'm too hot, if I'm too cold, if I'm anything, I'm agitated. I guess that's now what they call with kids sensory processing. That's probably what they would have told me. I call it spidey senses, because I think that's totally cooler. But the nauseous thing, I should have known. You think I would click in when every September, when I was, super all over the place, all the good ideas, that I was always, every September I took a pregnancy test. Every September. Every September I thought,
Really?
even when it actually, if I thought about it, wasn't actually possible, I took one because I was nauseous. And it never was. It was always the anxiety. Always. Man, I spent a lot of money.
I know. Because nobody tells you, like, FYI, your serotonin receptors, they're calling the gut like the second brain.
Yeah.
And it has a lot to do with our feelings.
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with our emotions and how we regulate, like how our body regulates serotonin.
Wow. Wow. For me, how I got help, I'm kind of one of those people that needs it to be like super boom before I do things. Like I need to, like breakups, things like that. Like it has to be super dramatic usually. So I hadn't been on medication for a while, and then I had a great winter. I had my first winter. They put me on Zoloft for depression, where I felt like I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is what, regular in my head people feel like in the winter. Like this is beautiful. Like I got through Christmas and January. I was okay. It was amazing. However, when I like clockwork do the switch around May, it was not working. So, but my doctor thought, well, we'll up it. And we upped it and we upped it, and I got higher and higher and felt like angry inside, and then high and then angry. And to the point where the week before I went in, I was doing VBS. I was, the one on stage. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I made up the program. Like, I'm pretty sure it was high seas, and it was supposed to be about like ships and stuff. And I was a captain, and they like, you can follow it step by step. And I don't think I followed it. The kids had fun. Apparently it was great. I don't know. But I didn't sleep. I slept probably 2 to 3 hours a night. Yeah, for 2 weeks. And I don't know about you, but when you can't sleep and you have those negative thoughts or anything in the middle of the night and you have nowhere to speak it out, they all seem true. Very true.
Oh, at 2 a.m., all of the worst things are true. Like the house is on fire and you're a terrible mother, and that noise that you just heard is definitely a burglar coming to ruin your life. And yeah, my friend and I always, when we're like, I can't turn off this negative thoughts, she's always like, have you had a nap?
Yeah.
And we're like,
Happy.
oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you feel, I think I was desperate enough that at that point, I'd already been on medication. I didn't really care. But I think when I went in knowing that it was more than depression and having a hunch that it was something else, did you ever feel like, you said you went to the school that you worked on, like how brave is that? Did you ever feel nervous about like colleagues or, I've had thoughts where I went from 0 to, I'm actually going to lose my job. They're going to find out, especially they're probably going to go on the internet now that I talk about it. Or what if they take my children, but I'm actually like a pretty rad mom. And what if? Did those things scare you?
Yes and no. Right. So I'm a clergy person, and a lot of people really feel like we're supposed to have it all together. And instead, I published a post that says I'm a pastor on Prozac. And I see what you're saying. And also, I think that I would have been a while ago really afraid.
Yeah.
But I am so committed to being like radically transparent, especially as a pastor, right? Because I just am like, I started telling everyone, but the other thing was I started telling everyone. And because people noticed, people at seminary were like, wow, are you okay? Like, you seem really good. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Prozac. You should try it. Like, the Prozac people should pay me because I advertise for them like openly. But I'm like, hi, like people are like, I'm sad. And I'm like, you should try Prozac. And I'm like, oh, no. Like, if your dog died, then you should be sad. But if you're sad for no reason, like Prozac, I mean, you could at least try. Like, I love it and I feel so much better. And so I think, like, I know in high school I was really ashamed about it, especially because it was like really tied up in my brain with like having enough faith. Right. So I also think women in faith and mental health, like we somehow get into our brains that if you just pray it away, it'll be okay. So I feel like when people tell me that, I want to say, I did pray it away. I prayed and God answered and gave me Prozac, and it is a medical miracle. And so stop it. Like, I just won't be shamed for it. And I tell everyone. But I think a lot of that has to do with, like I said in the last video, my sister's a mental health professional.
Yeah.
And so we were standing in my kitchen one day. She doesn't have a coffee machine at her house. So she just lets herself in and has coffee at my house, and which I love. And she was making coffee and she just started crying, and she like ran to me and she grabbed me in my kitchen and she said, I can't believe I have my sister back. You're back, Abby, you're back. And my husband felt like that. And I feel like I know I'm a better leader. I definitely could not be pastoring a church not on Prozac. And I'm a better mom. I don't get so angry and scared all the time. And so I'm just like, I should probably just wear a t-shirt that's like, ask me about my mental health pills because they're awesome. I just won't. I'm not going to be ashamed about it. Like, it's a gift. Like, it is a miracle. And I have pretty good insurance. And so it's like $10 every 3 months. And then I get to be fine. Like, please don't tell me that that's not a miracle from God, because you're crazy if you think that that is not a miracle.
Yeah. My hope for people, I know that we've had kids, we're in a different stage of life. And I think my hope in sharing as well would be that I think back and think, I try not to think this, but I think, all those years of struggle, and I guess my hope is to encourage a young person that has, those fears and apprehensions and things, that just that they would go and get help before I did, and not wait. I think that, I, like you, I actually feel more like myself on the meds than I do off the meds. And like you, but they have the right one. And it's really, I have two. So they really, bipolar, two of everything. So they found something, but I honestly can say, like you, I am so grateful for my meds. And I think another thing that people get hung up on about going to get meds, and once you get desperate, this thing didn't matter to me anymore. But I think I hear a lot about, but I don't want to be on them my whole life, or when am I going to get off them, before you even get on them. Right. Right. And it's, so what, right? Like you feel better. You're more of yourself. I feel like we focus a lot on that. And I think that that's a stumbling block in actually getting better.
And nobody says that about anything else. Like, no one has ever been like, okay, Abby, I see your glasses, but like, when are your eyes going to get better? They're not.
How long are you going to need those until everything?
Right. Right. How long are you going to need your insulin? Forever.
Right.
Right. How long are you going to need like, you know, how long are you going to need your contact lenses? Well, if you want me to drive,
Always.
like, always. And I feel the same way about my Prozac. But my husband, I was on it like 2 months. And he looked at me one day and he said, I need you to promise me something. And I was like, uh-oh. I was like, what do you mean you need me to, like, I'm like, I already married you. Like, we've been married for 13 years. What's happening? He was like, don't ever go off your meds. Promise me that we can have this forever. I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. And we're talking about clinical here. There is absolutely situational depression, right?
Oh, right, right.
Time. And they're absolutely, I mean, we're women of faith. We do believe in miracles and in healing. However, in the meantime, we need to take care of ourselves and do you know what I mean? And we see in the Bible everywhere, like not everybody gets healed or gets cured. And I think you touched on a bit, and I know in our next video, we're going to touch on that a lot, where we talk about problematic things people do or say.
Yay!
Yay! So I hope you clicked through to that one.
We'll see you there.
Yay!